So here it is, my desk, or should I say old desk, because I will be moving it. But I thought I'd give a tour of the old one to kind of give you some thoughts into my head, as well as some tips on making your own desk, or, modifying your desk to your liking, because I've learned a lot of things in the many of time of having this. We'll start from the top left and kind of work our way down. So if we move on over, we've got some of those wonderful red stripe coasters that I don't use anymore. Oh, to the side's decor, we wouldn't care. Up here is some decor I never get to see because it's too high and I don't look over here because there's stuff in the way. You also find some labels for the printer, new pencils. Oh look, more decors behind the stuff. Good old Sharp LC122. Oh yeah, and I was going to clean off the desk to make it look all pretty and not be embarrassed by dust, but it doesn't really get the full effect if you don't see all the mess that accumulates when you don't clean things, which is one thing I'm going to strive to do on the new desk, is be minimal and also clean. So we got the calculator, which I use for regular desk stuff. It's very simple. We've got more advanced ones for complicated things, but sometimes I just want a calculator I can turn on and type stuff and get an answer. Oh, and because it's a VFD, you can see it in the dark. We have this test tube holder that holds all my pens and pencils and so on. Gotta have 1,000 Sharpies. My notes, I don't use these as much, although with ScrubPub coming back, the edited thing is actually holding on to all of the episode papers. It also has a little bag with a few flash drives. Most of them are in my drawer. There's the router. So it's a TP-Link N750, which has AC and all that stuff. And I was tired of not having, Wi-Fi in my bedroom, so by my desk. We've got a lamp. We'll show how it works in a bit, but it is a lamp. $2. Impressive. The good old flippy clock. You gotta have one of these things. Let's wait for it. The max I should have to wait is 1 minute. Isn't that crazy? And look at that. Isn't that impressive? It's also got a built-in radio. On. Oh, so well tuned. Yay. And then here begins some of my many switches. So they're falling off, but you can actually control most of my desk just from here. I'll show the second one in a bit, because if you notice it's labeled Mon. I wonder what that means. But up here we've got the main upstairs-y stuff. So we've got the lamp. The only reason I was doing that is because this switch is a bit wonk and was causing it to flicker and stuff. So turn it off at the power supply instead of at the lamp. Then we've got the EQ and tape. So if we go over here, we've got the tape going and the EQ is on. Doesn't really do anything with that music. So here we've got my cassette stuff, which I don't know how much of this is going to move where, but we've got a bunch of bulk tapes. There's type 1, but you got to have a bunch just in case. And then here we've got some type 2 just for whenever. Oh, it's so dusty. We've got the Optimus 10-band stereo frequency equalizer, which is always a fun, useful thing to have. And then my favorite cassette deck I own. It looks great and it works wonderfully. It's the Kenwood, what is it? Kenwood KXW8040. It's just my favorite. I don't care. It's great. And then here's some papers. I don't know what they are. Over here we've got the label maker, because I love label makers. It actually has real labels in it now, except I don't have a holder, so we use this as a spring. Oh, and some labels. Yay. Scissors for labels when you're cutting them smaller. And then who needs stupid expensive headphone holders when you've got these little hooks that like to explode? But all right, so then we got my 2 headphones. Very good. Let's move on over. So next we kind of got the monitors. This wallpaper I picked because it looks very Guild War 2-sies, although I don't know what the source is, so sorry. It's very pretty. You'll know it's triple monitor. So anyway, we got a timer for keeping track of time, some papers, spare coasters. Actually, his heatsink I use as a coaster. Some blue tape back there, apparently. Speaker. This is where I put all my, I'm like sitting on my mic. It feels a bit weird. Hopefully it's okay. So where I store, this is the new place where I store media that I'm importing, which will soon be a much simpler system. But anyway, so we've got, need to process, so this needs to be processed. We've got need to format, which doesn't really use anymore, but legacy. And then the ready to use, so these are all good. Get the blue snowflake, which is maybe not my permanent desktop mic of choice, but it is the one I use now. And then the other Logitech speaker, deck of cards, roll of film, and some stuff back there. It's junk back there, and dust. So much dust. So yeah, the cool thing about the monitors is that they're controlled by those switches. So if we notice, we've got all 3 monitors on, and I can just turn them all off to save power. And then, boop, and you sit down, you just turn them all on, and they kind of pop on in their own time. Then of course you got individual monitor controls, because sometimes you don't need them all on. So here we've got a box of Avery labels that was just the right height to hold up this shelf, because hey, these little giant monitors, freaking heavy. So this prevents me from feeling like they're gonna fall off and break. Got whatever snacks and drink and whatever stuff, so we've got incredibly dirty because snacks and drinks and stuff. Drink. You got the clicky keyboard for doing writing stuff. I don't know if it's gonna stay here because this can become like a writing room, so I might use this one or a different keyboard, or if it's gonna follow with this desk in its new position. And we've got the Logitech G510S, which is my keyboard of choice. Not because it's particularly like the best key switches or anything in the world, but I mean, first off, it's got the lovely screen that lets you see computer stats or whatever you want because it's cool. But because it has all of these macros, this is how I do all my video editing. Just macros. That's it. Nothing else. Just macros. Very rarely do I have to move my hand off of these macros to do all of my editing. So good. The newest addition to the family of peripherals is this Logitech mouse. I forget what they call it. Let's check right now. Very good, Logitech. You don't have your number on here. It's a mouse. It's an MMO mouse because I play MMOs, and this is very handy because I don't know how normal people use all those stupid little number keys for doing stuff. Oh, and a few editing macros are on here, as well as the ability to change workspaces by just using the G-Shift key. This is a button over here. It's like a bunch of buttons on top. And you can shift workspaces, which without stuff you can't tell, but yes, quite impressive. And then we've got more dust, hooray, my everyday carry box. Xbox, isn't it a GameCube? Xbox 360 controller, because of course. Flashlight, the tactical dollar store one, because it's my favorite for reasons I've explained, and we'll do a full video eventually. I don't know why, it's just an 8th audio cable there. Why not? Now let's move. Oh yeah, and lots of these mouse pads. Oh, my phone kind of lives there. Let's move on. So something every desk I recommend has is some form of drawers. I didn't think that was necessary when I built this desk. I was wrong. So this is just a little 2-drawer dresser thing, nightstand, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it fits under the desk. Looks pretty good. It has drawers. I recommend probably like a filing cabinet, but regular filing cabinets are so junky. You really want some sort of well-constructed wooden thing. But the perk of it not being a file cabinet, it's very easy to just put food in. Yay, food. Next, we see basically my equivalent of a NAS, which is just 4 drives hooked up to an external SAS to SATA adapter cable. Has a fan with a little foot guard. And its own little power supply that's used a little jumper thing on it because I had one. And yeah, that's 4 1 terabyte drives for 3 terabytes in RAID 5. Battery backup with so much dust. So much dust! Yeah, battery backup for all of your battery backup needs. And one little battery backup tip I give you is, although it can tell your computer to automatically shut down when the battery's running low, if you don't have your monitors on there because they draw more power than your computer, I recommend all you do is set your button on your PC. Oh, what's this hair doing here? You're getting this shot. All I recommend you do is set your power button on your PC that a single press hibernates, which essentially shuts down the computer, but it actually saves exactly everything that's on your computer. So, you know, it's like, oh no, the power's out. You know, I've got work that's saved, because a hibernation state can be broken, do not lie. But if you've got a bunch of Chrome tabs open and all kinds of programs all laid out in Explorer windows, and you're not really doing anything, everything's saved, but you don't really want to lose just all that setup, boop, and then let it take care of it. And that brings us to, oh yeah, one more thing. This is just a light controller foot pedal switch thingy, but it's actually just, it's like for fidgeting. Just while you're doing stuff, you have something to fidget with, because your hands are busy doing computer stuff, but you still want to fidget, so they're clicky. It's kind of fun. Brings us to my desktop. It's a computer. I should review it eventually. It's quite nice. There's no longer LEDs inside of it to make it pretty. That died at some point. But it does have an LSI HPA that has a bunch of LEDs on it, so it does kind of glow orange. If I had more drives, I think it would glow green, but it's mostly clean because of dust filters. Yeah, dust filters are great, but they sure do look ugly after a while. And then next, I recommend everyone have some sort of access to power next to their desk. So we've just got this little extension cord plugged into this generic whatever fast charger. A very short little USB, 3, because it's Note 3, haha. USB 3, the only phone that does. But a little short cable, so we can just plug my phone in. And then, you can plug other chargers and other phone things in. I guess there's only one more thing to say about this desktop, is that if we go to display settings, there's one thing special we'll recognize about these monitors that are different than normal ones. 1920 by 1200. Yes, these are 16 by 10 monitors. They're taller than 1080p monitors by pixels. They're taller than 1080p monitors by an amount. So you just get more screen real estate for almost free. And because these are an undesirable resolution, the monitors are so cheap. I mean, this whole desk, it costs less than a normal 1080p monitor. It's craziness. Oh gosh, it's cheapness. That also means that when we've got surround turned on, it's 5760 by 1200. More pixels than triple monitor 1080p. Yes. Oh, it's so good. Maybe I'll show that in a bit, but not right now. All right, so that's been a look at my old desk. Now, I'm going to do a time-lapse video that's separate that shows me tearing apart this whole computer and rebuilding it in the new spot. But I won't do a review on the new setup until I've used it for a while, because it's not really fair to go, here's the new setup, until you've used it. Because if you've ever organized a bunch of tool drawers, that's not really your new setup. That's a bunch of organization that you haven't used yet. I mean, do you keep putting the tools back, or do they just end up on your desk? In which case, it's just like a box of holding tools. But then that's not your setup if you're just taking them out, studying them on your desk, and never putting them away. So it's kind of the same thought. Until I make a bunch of videos with the new desk, it's not a new desk setup yet. It's just the same stuff somewhere else wrong. But once I get a flow, then I can actually show you the new setup and everything. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. And I'm going to give more desk tips as it goes along, but hopefully you can see some thoughts. I'll give my few desk tips, and then that'll be all. So thank you for watching, and enjoy. Yeah, biggest desk tips, as I've already explained, have drawers. Second thing, you pretty much want your keyboard and monitors on a separate level. As much as I didn't think that I liked keyboard trays, you want some form of keyboard tray. In all reality, your monitors and keyboard should not exist on the same plane unless you really like looking down at your monitors. So if you notice, that shelf is actually a relatively new addition, because before I either had my monitors sitting on top of cassette decks and a few other boxes and so on, or I had them raised all the way up on their arms, because yeah, they're going to be on separate planes like that. So you either have to have a monitor arm and then you're fine, but in reality don't go, keyboard trays are kind of dumb. Yes, but remember, your monitors are going to probably be a lot higher, and that depends on how tall you are and whatever else. And I'm not even speaking oh, it's ergonomics, you should always have a sit-stand desk. Well, I'm just saying that it's just uncomfortable looking down at the monitors for me. So now, mind you, the coolness is I have all this space under here that I can store stuff. Oh yeah, I didn't even show you. So here's where my actual little volume control for the speaker lives, so I can plug headphones in. I actually don't use that volume control. I use the one built into the keyboard, but say I didn't have that keyboard, we would have the control there. One thing I do like is that I really kind of recommend desks with a second shelf or a shelf above your desk. I used roll tops all my life, and it's great just to always have space above your monitors, especially since you can't really set stuff on tube monitors anymore because we don't use them really. So it's good just to have some junk up there. And then only other recommendations is, if you can, get a battery backup. Like if you're not using a laptop, it's so good to have battery backup, because there are days when just the power will go out, and you know, this is even in like a city and stuff. It's just someone ran into a pole, something happened, who knows? You flipped a breaker because oops, you're smirched. But yeah, you can actually get these pretty cheap if you buy an old one that's a really good unit, but the battery's gone, and then buy a replacement battery from a third party, and just live with the fact that maybe it's not as good as the first party or not validated or whatever, but you know, it's cheap. You expect something to go wrong, and then you're fine. One thing I didn't mention in the video that I thought I'd touch on real quick is that easily accessible Ethernet jacks are just the best thing ever, especially if you like throw a laptop on your desk or have a friend over for a LAN party, that type of thing. You know, assuming you're putting it in your own drops. See, I can't remember any more tips I had. I thought I had more of it. So thanks for watching, enjoy, and see ya.